I'm going to show you one of the games that was awarded a special prize at the ACO Super Seniors tournament in Kos in May. So the Greek island of Kos, that is. So Super Seniors, that's over 65s. And, well, I can warmly recommend these ACO events. They combine chess tournament with a holiday, an absolutely beautiful hotel. So it's a very nice time of year in Greece in May. Not too hot. And yeah, it's just a really great atmosphere. At these ACO events, there are grandmaster coaches and we all give lectures. And my colleague, Zigord Lanka, renowned coach and player from Latvia, had been discussing the Zuckertort system all week. And for the unwary, this is a highly dangerous system. And one of the attendees at his lectures was Bergmann from Germany, who's inspired to try out the Zuckertort. So let's take a look and see what happened. So Bergmann playing white, Helmut Poeltet playing black. So a very classical start. And here, instead of c4 and perhaps a queen's gambit, e3. So it looks quite conservative at the moment. You know, that pawn blocks in the bishop. But let's see the setup that white has in mind. So the bishop comes out to b4. Yeah, this is dubious. It loses time. I mean, the bishop should go to either d6 or e7 straight away. So yeah, the bishop just gets pushed back to d6 and then b3. So this is the Zuckertort system. So it's where the bishop goes to d3 and the other bishop goes to b2. And they're on these wonderful diagonals towards black's kingside. So bishop b2. So there we go. That's the Zuckertort system with this pawn structure and the bishops. Now black decides to exchange on d4, and that's definitely premature. I think black does best to play b6 and bishop b7 and perhaps look to play the knight into the outpost on e4. But okay, that's another story. So black exchanges. Yeah, this is premature because the semi-open file actually benefits white. So black castles, rook e8. So I think that's already an indication that black is unsure of what to do. Now, if black can achieve e5 to exchange some pieces, that could be playable. But of course, white slams the knight on the outpost, supported by that bishop on b2. That's the point. So it renders the rook move, well, rather redundant. Well, at least the knight, it creates room for the knight to hop back to f8, but it's a bit passive. Of course, if this knight is exchanged off, then that's not good. The knight lacks a good square. So knight f8. So the king sort of protects the king side, but it is very passive. And why not play f4 here? Supporting the knight. Good move. Now, if black could throw that knight into e4 to block the bishop, then it would still be playable, but that e4 square is covered by knight and bishop. I still think that b6 is the best way for black to play this. There could be the opportunity to throw in knight e4 at some point, but b6, not great from black. Now, it's a little bit of a trick, really. If f5, then black can exploit the pin and take the knight. But of course, white avoids that, avoids any kind of tricks with king h1. The king, well, should, I think, step aside when the queen is on b6. So yeah, queen c7, it was just a trick. The queen steps back. And now, yeah, white has all this space. Why not use it to swing that rook across to the king side? Again, I think b6 is black's best, but g6, okay, I can understand why Black wanted to shut out this bishop, but rook h3, white's attack is developing very nicely. And knight h5. Perhaps you'd like to have a think. What would you play here? Before I show you the next move from white, what would you play here? I mean, this is such a pleasant position for white already. What would you do next? Black, no, excuse me. Yeah, white to play here. I'm getting confused. What would you play as white? Well, I think the most straightforward is just to bash on, sack the exchange. I think I wouldn't be able to resist that because everything is closed on the queen side. I think this is the beauty of white's system, is that black can't do anything. There's no counterplay on the queen side, and that gives white a free hand to attack on the king side. Everything is beautifully placed. So it's a very small material investment, and it just opens black's king. But Rojas played queen g4, which on the surface of it looks absolutely fine, moving the queen over to the danger zone. But this actually gives black a chance to defend. f5. It should have been played. It wasn't played. And then after this, okay, this queen can be pushed back. And then knight f6. Now white is still better here. But because that knight has access to e4, that makes life more difficult for white. That's what should have been played. But instead, f6, blunder, rook takes knight, and pawn takes. Well, so white is just a pawn up, and then, well, it's just a case of shifting all white's pieces to the king side, and Rojas does this very well with rook f1. And this is nice. There's no panic. You don't need to break through immediately. Bishop c1. Yeah, the bishop has served its purpose on this diagonal, so why not switch it over here? Very nice play. And knight f3. I mean, this is hard going for black. So the bishop is able to come in here. King h8. Okay, now this is threatened, so the rook just steps back for a moment. So there's no particular rush. Bishop h6, and this is very, very nice. Knight g5. White's pieces are just flooding in, and you can see that, well, black's pieces just are completely out of it. Knight d7 covers f6, but now very nice switch. Again, no panic, just controlling the open file. The rook comes in. And now, well, it is, of course, hopeless. And the game finished knight f8 and queen f6 check and mate next move. So all white pieces came to the party. I like that. And that was a very successful version of the Zuckertort. So Zigordslanka, because he'd been giving these lectures all week on the system, he couldn't help but award this game with his special best game prize. So congratulations to Rojas Bergmann on a very well played game. I hope he's still playing the Zuckertort system. So once again, if you'd like to play in one of these amateur chess organisation events, then the next one is in October, and in Crete actually, and it'll be, again, there'll be more events held in Kos in May 2027. So do check out the details on the ACO website. I'll put the link down below.